All right, so you can see we're having trouble with the Kubota, and I just wanted to make a quick video to kind of show you what I've come up with here today. There's hydraulic fluid was hydraulic fluid on the ground. So obviously, one of the hydraulic lines here that controls the backhoe functions has sprung a leak. So first thing I've done here is I've just taken off, there's 4 bolts right here. Please excuse my shop. I'm in the middle of several different projects right now, so it's kind of a mess, but this was kind of an urgent one, so we had to pull it in here and get stuff going. So what I'm going to do here is try to look inside this protective sleeve. And I'm not necessarily going to take all these off yet. I think what I'm going to do is carefully just cut this protective sleeve, take it off, and then when I'm done, I'll wrap it back up. Instead of using a knife to start with, I'm going to try some scissors. Hopefully with the scissors I can avoid doing any more damage to the lines. Okay, so I think I found the line that's broken. It's really, normally when you have a hydraulic leak, it just comes out real quick. This one must be just a tiny pinhole because I can't feel or see where it's leaking out yet. But I tried all my bucket controls, and I find that when I move the actual bucket control, I get the most leaking. And it seems to be coming from this one right here. That's where I get all the drips. If I watch it, I seem to get more drips off of this one. Let me throttle it up for you. So you can see a drip. Since I'm getting most of the drips on the line right here, make sure you wear safety goggles and be careful because the hydraulic lines can have a lot of pressure. So you don't really want to reach in there and touch it while it's running. If it does spring a leak, it could have several thousand pounds of pressure, enough to penetrate your skin. So wear safety goggles, and if you're going to touch it, make sure it's not turned on. So if I trace it back up, I find that line there is the one where I get the most drips. Now, it could be still dripping from another hose up behind this pivot pin here, but I can't seem to see it. So that's the line that I'm guessing on first. So if I follow that line back up, it happens to be the one right behind the red one. As I follow it this direction, it happens to be right here. It ends up being the line that comes here, and it goes down. It controls this cylinder that controls the digging bucket. So I don't know if this is supply or return line. I think it's the return line. And it goes back down in this hole, comes out here. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this line off, and then we're going to take a closer look at it. Okay, so I have to get this one off. What I found is that there's not enough space in between the other lines to get an actual wrench on it. So that causes a problem. This is 11/16. 18 millimeter will also work. I don't know, I'm assuming Kubota, it's probably metric, but I noticed the lines on them say Parker. So if it's Parker, it might actually be standard. Now I tried a linesman wrench and I could almost get a lines wrench on there. This is made usually for brake line or something like that. The problem is there's still not enough space in between these two fittings. This one's over a little bit farther, so I think what I'm going to have to do here is take off this one and this one to get to that one. So that's my plan. I'm going to take off these two first, and then I'll see if I can get to that one. If I can't, then I'll take off the red one. So I'm going to blow it off a little bit. Make sure you wear safety glasses. So with hydraulic stuff, I always like to get it as clean as possible so you don't get dirt and contaminate the system. This is the first one we're going to take off right here. And you want to be careful, there might be a little pressure in the systems. Got that one loose. Now, if you have a wrench like this, it works better because you get more surface area rather than just an open end wrench, and you're more likely to twist and round it off with one of these. Once you get it loose, you can use an open end wrench to finish it with. There's one, got it out of my way. Go down to this one here. Since we're only taking off a few hoses, I'm not going to mark them. It's pretty obvious which one goes where. If I was taking all these off, I'd label them with some tape or something. Those are the lines that control, I think, the feet to set your stabilizer feet down. These two lines right here are your main supply lines for supply and return for the whole backhoe unit. Now we're going to get to this line, which is the one in question. See if I can get this on it. A little tight in this spot. Cannot get this line wrench on because of the next hose next to it is too tight. So I actually have to go in at a little bit of an angle. The regular open end wrench, which I'm not crazy about. But we did get it loose that way. Now we're going to work the other side. So got this one loosened with the same size wrench. Now I'm just going to take this guy down through here and try to pull her out. Okay, so we got that one out of there. And I'm going to continue. It might be tight getting it up out of here, but I'm just going to go ahead and continue to try to pull it out of there. These lines out of my way. Nice little hydraulic fluid on my ankles. That always feels good. This is where it might get tight. A little tight right through there, just like I thought. Push it down in a little bit, try to make some space. Okay, what I'm going to try to do is pull this mesh all the way out of there so I have more room. Boy, I use a lot of paper towels on this job. I'm trying to keep my hands remotely decent. See if I can pull it out of there with some pliers. Okay, so I got the tarp and the mesh out of there, and this is going to be tough to put back in. And now that I did that, I've got a little bit more play. And now that I got some more play, I can get the line out. So I clean this hose off, and as I bend it and flex it, I find one spot on it that's suspicious. And if I bend it, you can see, might be able to see this little spot right here. That's probably my culprit right there. Just to verify I don't go get the wrong hose, I'm going to hook this back up and test it. Make sure that's my spot. Okay, so we got all these lines hooked back up. I'm just going to run it one more time just to verify that's the spot. You see, as I hooked it back up this time, I just hooked it right up here and ran it straight down the edge to the outside to where I can test it and see if it's leaking there. There it comes. Okay, so I think we verified it's definitely that line. I'm going to run it a little bit more through all the controls and make sure there's nothing else leaking while I have it open. So I've got the new hose made, and what I noticed first off is it's slightly larger in diameter than the other hose. So normally that wouldn't be a problem. However, unfortunately, when I try to go through this tight area, that's going to make those areas even tighter to get through. So first thing I want to do is try to fish it right through there. Now I gave all this a quick cleaning just a minute or two ago. That way it just wasn't so messy. So feeding it through there wasn't too bad. The tough part's going to be getting the protective fabric back on there. Just run this on down through. I want to give myself plenty of space. I can always hook this end up in a minute. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to, it's a pretty short run, so I'm just going to try to reach up through here and tuck it with my hand. Fish it up through there until I can feel it. Just like that. I'll run it back through. I'm going to go ahead and get ready to dry fit this one, and then I'm going to try to tuck this fabric through. This is probably going to be the toughest part. Try to tuck this protective fabric back through. So let's see how this goes. I'm not sure the best way of doing this, but just going to try to lift this up and get a long screwdriver. See if I can wiggle this while I poke it down in. I'm holding up on these. That way when I let go of them, they sort of pull it back in. Whew, it's going to be a bear, so I'm just going to keep forcing it. And I'll turn the camera back on while I've got it up through there. So, I've got the hose through there, still working on the protective coating, but I'm going to go ahead and attach all these. I've got that. Now the fitting on here was a slightly bigger size, so I had to use a 3/4 wrench. Then I'll get back to my 11/16. I'm going to do that so that I can move the hoe arm up and down and maybe get a little bit more play in the hoses. those hoses are all on. I got the back one on also. Now we're going to get back down to working on this. But what I'm going to do is I've got this through enough that I can reach in here and touch it. So this is a pretty slow process, but now that I've got the hoe extended more, I can sort of reach down with a pair of pliers and grab a hold of the fabric because I've got more space in here now. I can lift up these. And it's still a pretty slow process, but I can pull with the pliers. And what I've been doing is taking a hammer, sliding it through here, and just prying with it. And the pliers slip off, but I can get a little bit each time. As expected, it's the hardest part of the job, but I managed to get it mostly through with some channel locks, grabbing it like this, and then I'd wedge a hammer in here to pry against it, and I can pull the fabric that way. Now that I've got it mostly through, I can sort of grab it and wiggle this, and I can move the fabric the rest of the way by hand. If I just loosen up on these, wiggle these, I can move it by hand. Now I think I've got enough fabric now that I can wrap it back around like this. And I'm going to put some zip ties around it. And over here, I'm going to just try to pull it around here. That way I can wrap it around here, try to get some in front of there. That way I can put zip ties around it. So now, I think I've got it wrapped in front of there. I'll zip tie this around the front. And then I'll also do the same thing here, zip tie this around there. And I think I've got it twisted enough that it'll stay and sort of protect it from all sides. We got it all wrapped up. All I'm going to do now is just going to clip off the ends of these zip ties. Yes, I put a lot of zip ties on here since I didn't want it coming unraveled. That way, you know, if it comes unraveled and the hose starts rubbing right in these pinch points right here, it's going to wear out more of my hoses. This Kubota is getting pretty old, but I want to keep her running for a while. Right, so there we go. Got that all wrapped up. And got this all wrapped up. And all the way back in here, wrapped up as far as I could reach. And now what I'm going to do is I got to button this back up. That's really about the last thing to do is put this cover back on. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and power wash this out real quick, just because it hadn't been washed in a long time. So hopefully that's helped. Hey, keep watching my videos. Subscribe to my channel. I do a lot of work on equipment. This Kubota, automotive, you name it, we'll get it done. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Talk to you later.